This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, welcome to the show. Wow, this is a chat that I've been hoping to bring to you for a long time. Finally materialised. It's a conversation with the great Glen Benton from Deicide. Now the catalyst for our conversation is due to the launch of, I believe it's Lucky number 13. The album number 13, Banished By Sin from Deicide. It'll be out later on in April. Now, there are far too many topics that we cover through this almost half an hour chat, but I will say I've been a fan and a follower of this band, even when I stopped listening to metal for quite some period of time there in the early 2000s when I checked out. And Stench of Redemption was actually the album that got me right back into listening to extreme stuff in 2006. So yes, we talk about that. Their Brisbane show in the same year. Taylor Nordberg playing older material such as Legion. Some of the lyrical themes on Banished By Sin. Mark English from Monstrosity and his tenure in the group. Jeramie Kling, their front of house engineer. So many topics of conversation. I'm sure if you're a fan of the show, and of course of Deicide and Glen, you're going to find a lot to wrap your ears around throughout this chat. So here he is, Glen Benton from Deicide. Thanks for making the time to have a chat with us. Really appreciate it, by the way.
No problem, man. Hey, give me 1 second, I can switch over.
Sure.
Well, just go ahead and do it, man. I'm really pressed for time. I really got a full boat today.
Okay, no worries, mate. How much time have we got?
I think 30 minutes.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'll kick straight into it then, Glen, for you. Then it's
sure.
I've got the press release, okay, accompanying the album, and
right.
I've listened to the album, and it certainly lives up to this boast that it proudly announces a return to 1990s style musicality, which is a testament to the band's unwavering dedication to your craft. So could you elaborate on how you've incorporated modern elements into what I'd describe as a legacy sound?
Well, it's like everybody's kind of, this, with technology, everybody wants to pick and choose what technology they use these days. And for the record and the recording, the last several records we've done, well, like I say, man, I've never been completely happy with the process because we lose a lot of sound quality in that between, rough tracks, mixed mastering and that. And I just kind of found a few tricks, this time around, which is, don't listen to anybody but myself, and little compression as possible. Use actual real amplifiers and cabinets to, with microphones and direct ins, instead of letting Pro Tools do everything, and using plugins and, modeling amps and all that kind of crap. We took it old school. Okay. Even with the drum sound, we use more mic sound than we use sample sound,
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Old school.
And we didn't go big. Like I said, man, we recorded it right up the street from my house here, Jeramie's house, in his studio there in his living room. And like I say, man, we took the old school route to tracking it because Jeramie runs our live sound, so he knows what we sound like and what we want to sound like. And man, he did an incredible job.
Agreed. And I actually met Jeramie aboard 70,000 tons of metal this year with Taylor. And look, he strikes me as a bloke who lives and breathes extreme metal. So what are the attributes that he brings to Deicide that make your partnership with him so successful?
With Jeramie, like I said, we've been friends for a while now. And he, like I said, man, you know what? The guy, he knows his shit, man. You know what I mean? I mean, no doubt about it. Jeramie asked me, because we road bike in the morning sometimes, and there was a stretch there we were doing, and he approached me about doing it at his place, at least letting him, take a swing at it, And I was all about that because, the whole, the way we were doing it over in Sanford, Florida, that was a 3-hour drive for each one of us each way. And by the time you get there, you're so, you're just so depleted mentally, from that. It really just, it kind of it really made the process long and drawn and dragged out, and I think that now we just a really fresh approach to it. A really I don't give a fuck approach to it. Really, is really more like it. We're like we really didn't take anybody into consideration but ourselves.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that, by the way, as an old fan. Yeah. What about, I read in the bio as well, sorry, the press release, that each band member contributed to the songwriting. Now, how did you manage to strike what I'd describe as a harmonious balance between what people bring individually, because you do have a new member in Taylor. He's taken over from Mark. So the individual styles that people bring, but the album still sounds extremely cohesive. It's a Deicide record without a doubt. So how did you manage that balance?
Mark, well, like I say, man, me and Steve write what we write, Kevy writes, his stuff. And Taylor, he came in and, not a lot of guitar. I've never seen this level of professionalism out of any guitar player ever in this band. But he took upon himself to record Steve's drum playing while we were on tour, and then wrote songs based around Steve's playing style, which is the Deicide sound. So, of course, his Taylor songs are going to reflect that. And I think Taylor did an amazing job at capturing that essence of what we, this band is,
Yeah, agreed. From the perspective that I also met Taylor, as I mentioned, and I bought 70,000 tons of metal, and I did get to talk to him a fair bit. He's a very impressive bloke, in addition to being an excellent guitarist. And watching Inhuman Condition, man, I heard Deicide straight away. So I know Jeramie's doing sound and is also the singer in that band there, but he just gets what Deicide is all about. But that's one thing. So beyond that, and as I mentioned, I think he comes across as a tremendous fella. What other qualities does he bring to the band?
Jeramie?
No, Taylor, sorry.
Oh, Taylor? Or what do you mean, like what he brings to the band? I mean, dude, the kid's a phenomenon. He's a phenomenal guitar player, man. He plays from his essence and his spirit and his soul, man. He doesn't play from a Mel Bay guitar lesson book, you know what I mean? He's yeah, man, he's a really deep person, and he's educated in the ways of a recording studio. He knows how to engineer, and having him and Jeramie both, having two engineers involved in the band now. I mean, yeah, man, it's incredible. Yeah, incredible.
Gotcha. Look, Mark English from Monstrosity, another tremendous guitarist and another phenomenal talent, and I really loved the last album as well. By the way, a lot of people did. And but can you share why he exited the group?
Mark, just really, man, it's like, listen, I run this band. This is my thing since 1987. I've been doing this for 37 something years, man, and my job here, being what I bring to the table, management wise and everything, my job is to keep pushing this thing to be the best thing it could ever be. Like any sports coach would, pick his best players and his best people to make, the team the best it can be. That's really what I do. Okay. So if you're not pulling your weight, you're not fitting the bill, or your material's not strong enough, life's too short to be sitting in a shitty marriage, man. You know what I mean? So, I just move forward with it, So, Mark had his, Mark has his, issues. I don't like to talk shit about people, man. So I'm not going to. So I'll just say that Mark just wasn't a fit for the band, and that's just how it worked out. It worked out in my favor, honestly. I mean, Chris came in after him to fill in for a while, and then Chris, Chris has got a full plate working for Dean Guitars and everything and that. So I have to think about, me and Steve and our future, and not, our happiness, before others.
Yeah, I'll get you. Yeah. Just talking about Steve then, what are the key features of your relationship with Steve that have made that partnership so successful for so long?
You know what? We have the same, we think alike, man, as far as, where we want to go with this and that. And, we've known each other since we were kids, man, so. Yeah,
gotcha.
We had the same goal, the same common goal, you know what I mean? And we've had to deal with a lot of bullshit, with, the personnel changes and all the other bullshit that's, we've stepped in over the years, and now we're past all that, so.
Indeed, yeah. Hey, I've got a couple more questions about the album. Actually, I put it out there to people who follow the show. What was a good question for you? And there was a lot that came back. There's a lot of interest in this album. I'll let you know that now. And there's a lot of people that are looking forward to it. So a user by the name of, I think it's Justin Lozano. I think he's from your part of the world too. So on Insta there, but he's got this question for you. You have played the first three albums in full at Philly Metal and Beer Fest, I think it is. So has learning some of the older, and in the case of Legion, more technically complex material, has it given you a kind of musical freedom where you feel comfortable tackling more technical material, which is what it sounds like it is on the new material?
Well, I can say this, like when COVID hit and we started, working on the Legion stuff, it was actually, that was 92 or some, time back then. And you find out real quick that you become a better musician when you go back and try to, when you go back and relearn some of this stuff. You're like, wow, what you thought was, had a difficulty level of 10 is now more like a 2, So it was kind of fun, like, going back over that stuff and, thinking, it's a real morale booster, so it was a good time. And like going back and like relearning some of the stuff for the Philly festival and that, Trick or Betrayed and Carnage and all that kind of, it was kind of fun, man. I haven't done those songs in a while. And like I say, it's, we're going to probably bring those in the set a little more frequently. And,
Yeah. What about with the lyrics on Banished by Sin, so the new album, they're described in the presser as spiritually antagonistic. Now, if you guys had an elevator pitch, it'd be that. But were there any other themes or messages that you hadn't that are brand new for the band that you introduced on this album?
Well, man, I write from my inner self and that, and Kevy and everybody, they write their songs and then I come in and tweak them and shit like that. But because I want everybody to get an equal, share of publishing and everything like that. So I let everybody contribute as fully as possible. And that, like I say, we're all in the same frame of mind here. And that, for me, when I write, man, it comes out of my soul. And, I do a lot of writing, like for the other guy stuff. I do a lot of that at the mic stand, when I go to record it. If there's things that, just like I say, I make sense of it all, if you want to say that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, like I say, messages wise and that, I'm just like everybody else, man. I lived through that bullshit called COVID and maybe there was a lot of that pent up in that. And, I've had a pretty shitty decade, and now it's all the smoke is cleared and shit. And, I find myself by myself, my kids have moved off into the world and there's really not much to do except be Glenn again. So that's where I'm at. Just being me without any, PG-13 warnings. I can be as X-rated and R-rated as I want.
Well, here we go. I always throw a bit of we call it a flipper here in Australia because we play cricket, not baseball. So it's not a curveball, but a flipper. But here I go, Glenn. All right, you ready? The USA, like the rest of the developed world, has been under the hammer of left-wing authoritarianism for some time now. Okay, so it's almost a decade or so. So you talk about what the last decade has been like for you personally, but right across the developed world, so the COVID propaganda thing with mask and vaccine mandates, Black Lives Matter, critical race theory, repatriations, DEI policies and other nonsense, and you even had to go into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She called the handling of the process to fund Israel's Iron Dome, which we saw in action this week, shielding Israelis from an attack by Iran, that it was a reckless decision by House leadership, if you can believe it. So my question for you after that is this. Can the USA and indeed the world survive another 4 years of Biden, or do you think Trump is going to bring similar chaos?
Man, you know what? I have a saying, and I live by it. Politics are for assholes,
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that.
There you go. All right. The stench of redemption. It didn't just reinvigorate your career. It refocused death metal at a time when the gaze on extreme metal was primarily on metalcore and deathcore. Okay. So your partnership with Ralph Santolla, it's crucial and it is vital. And I think it's fair to say soloing will just never be surpassed in extreme metal. But what are your memories of working with Ralph?
Well, Ralph, Ralph was a complicated individual, man. Ralph, like all of us, had his demons, and Ralph could be one of the most funniest people on this planet, man. And like I say, me and him had a really fucking weird relationship and that, but towards the end there, we made peace with each other, and I hope he's in a better place and he's happy now.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Those 3 albums you did with him are just superb, by the way. It's not just The Stench of Redemption, but I proudly wear The Hell With God as a back patch on my jacket. So there you go.
Right
on. Okay, so I'm going to mention something locally. Your show in Brisbane in 2006, it was memorable, but probably for all the wrong reasons. I love the show, by the way, but do you remember this? You were spat on by the crowd and you had to skip songs. Does that ring a bell?
I don't remember it, but like I said, that was the last time I was in Australia. Not many people know this, but my son had been taken illegally, removed from the state of Florida. And I had, the whole time I was in Australia doing that tour, I was on the phone with attorneys and courts and everything, making arrangements to get a court order to go retrieve my son and bring him home when I got back from Australia. So I had an option to cancel that tour, and I didn't. So if there was any kind of short givings or anything, my apologies in that, but I had a lot on my mind, if you know what I mean.
I don't blame you. I apologise for the crowd behaviour that night. You put in a superb show, nonetheless, and I'm sorry to hear again that. Yeah, well, that
was the longest Australian tour I ever did, man. It felt like a fucking eternity, And as soon as I got home, I grabbed my court order and went up to the state of Pennsylvania and retrieved my son and brought him home forever. Yeah.
Well, good on you, mate. Yeah, I've noticed that. I've read a lot of your interviews and listened to them over the years, and you're a family man. And look, your legacy notwithstanding, look, I'm Australian, but heritage is Irish, right? So Catholic. I'm Catholic. But you're of Sicilian heritage in the same way. So do you observe any of the Catholic rites and practices still?
I don't observe shit, dude, except myself. I observe the amount of weed I have left over in my container. That's about what I observe. Yeah.
Gotcha. So no seafood on Good Fridays or Fridays at all, for that matter?
My family used to do I used to call it the dance of the 7 fishes or whatever the fuck they call it. But I don't, man. I don't participate in these pagan holidays. These fucked up rituals of eating fish on the fucking. Nah, man. I really don't even. I'll just go to the casino, have a martini, and do some gambling. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, but it's good to hear you grew up in a household that was culturally Catholic in that way, though. I think it gives you.
You know what? People don't realize. My mother was a Sunday school teacher. My mother was Lutheran. My father was Catholic. So we lived at war with each other, and like I say, my mother was a Sunday school teacher, and I was subjected to that shit for several years, and I mean, people wonder why I am the way I am. Well, I say, man, I was exposed to things at an early age that really were like creepy, haunting, and fucked up at the same time.
Okay, there you go. I've hinted at this next question. You do have done a lot of interviews over the years. You're very charismatic, but what's the question that keeps on coming up that you're sick of answering?
I mean, there's one I think that probably I get it the most is that why don't I sing about other things besides what I sing about? And I explained that, the answer to that is that everybody has a purpose and a place and a reason. And for some fucked up reason, mine is this. And I can't, if I have to sing about anything other than what comes out of me natural, I can't write. I get a mental block and I cannot write. So in order to do what I do, I just have to open up my mind and let that do the writing and stay out of my mind's eye's way and just assist in what has to be done, And I, just like how, Bruce Springsteen sings about his bullshit and Chuck Berry sang about his bullshit. And A lot of people, sing about love and lost love and all that shit. I find that to be kind of weak in, my mind's eye. So I just let my inside write it. Excuse me.
I thought it was going to be, the question about the Hoffman brothers that you go onto the Deicide, if Blabbermouth, whatever it might be, or YouTube thing, you just see constant questions about where the Hoffman brothers are. Does that question keep on rounding on you?
I haven't spoke or heard, or I like I say, man, I don't participate in their level of stupidity. So I just avoid, I haven't spoke to them in 20 years plus. I don't have no desire to ever relive that nightmare ever.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. But look, we
like I say, man, everybody knows that story. That's an oldie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's out there for anybody to read. Look, I've tried to communicate with the guys, and I got as far as having an email exchange, but it was a very brief one, and that never went anywhere. I'd love to talk to them. I'm on the record as saying that because I'm sure they've got a story to tell. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the.
Their story, like I say, man. All I can say in regards to them is there's been attempts, on their behalf to contact me and Steve actually. But they try sending messages through Canella and stuff like that. I just don't have, like I say, man, I have a saying in my life, and I apply it to everything and anything in my life, and I do not swim up shit river a second time. All right?
Mm. Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that.
There you go. Yeah. Well, you've succeeded despite a lot of odds. And look, your success, I'm talking about you personally here, by the way. So your success is a great example that fantastic music and connection to fans through music, it isn't enough to stand out. You need to actually be a strong personality who is charismatic. And here's a key point, isn't afraid of the media and can actually engage with fans. So do you think, in your view, you've been around as long as anybody doing this, 30-odd years or so now, if you can believe it. Is it fair to say that the internet killed the rock star, so to speak? Because I think Corey Taylor from Slipknot's about the last iconic extreme metal or heavy metal frontman to emerge in the last 25 years or so.
Yeah, I think that it's people have lost their individualism, man. I think in a lot of ways, people are so worried about competing with the next guy on Instagram and TikTok and all this bullshit that people they're afraid to show their individualism and be themselves, I mean, you have the whole, these goth movements and these people that, like I say, you've had all these things over the years and that, but people are too worried about, we live in a really weird world now, man, where everybody and anybody thinks their opinion matters. And so people, I think, are afraid to, step outside the box because they're so afraid what everybody's going to say about them in these, social media platforms. So I think that really, that suppresses a lot of people, so you don't have very many, the Lemmys and the Ozzies and the Ronnie James Dios and that. They say, man, they're we're fresh out.
Yeah, agreed. That's it. Mate, I think once guys like you decide to hang up the bass guitar, that's it. There's none really coming through. I can't think.
I'm not afraid that. I'm just not afraid. I can say, man, I just warned both of my kids, man, listen, and I have nothing holding me back anymore. So there's a good probability I'm going to embarrass the shit out of the both of you. So I'm just giving you my apologies now ahead of time because I just don't give a fuck anymore, man. I mean, this world is just one fucked up place. This country I'm in is one fucked up place, and So I'm just out for me now.
Gotcha. What about, look, I'm a bassist and I quite enjoyed your bass playing over the years. I tend to focus on that as much as I do the rest of the music. But what bass setup are you using for both recording and touring these days?
I'm using two Subway 800s, playing out of 4 212 cabs, Mezzo Boogie. And I have a Sans amp pedal that I run out of on my rig. And that's really it, man.
What about the
What
bass?
really, on this album was great. What the bass that I'm using?
Yeah, Fenders, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Yeah, they made me. I started. Like I say, man. When I was a kid, my first bass guitar was a '71 Fender Tele P bass, and I loved that guitar, the way it played in that, and with being with BC Rich and these Ibanez and these companies that make these crazy body styles and that, it just got to the point where it's like it was really inhibiting my playing ability. Because you're fighting this neck heavy guitar the entire performance, and so I just said, you know what? At my age, I kind of look stupid playing these hairband style shaped guitars. In my age, I thought it was kind of like looking a little ridiculous, So I started buying Fenders, and then I made friends with the manager of the place, and so I bought a Fender Custom. I had it made. David Gilmour's Luther made it for me, and then I got. They made me the Pitchfork that I play now, and the master wound pickups and all. I mean, all that. We brought 4 basses, I believe, to the studio, and the Devil's Pitchfork blew all of them away. So.
There you go. Do you play at all in the studio? I know you play with a pick live, but do you play in the studio with your fingers at all?
I play at home on my couch bassy acoustic bass.
Because
I still play with my fingers, man. I never stop playing with my fingers. I just play with a pick because of you get more attack, And I don't like that for this kind of music. I don't think that blinkety blinkety blink Seinfeld sounding bass slap. I don't think it fits.
No, I tend to agree. And look, I'm a singing bass player as well. So for the sort of music that you're doing, it's still a universal. So I reframe my question. It's still a universal approach when you're singing and playing. And so, did you find it was a lot easier when you transition to a plectrum or a pick on stage from playing with your fingers and singing at the same time?
It was weird, man, because the first album, second album, I played with my fingers. And it was, I can say, I just didn't like the tone. You know what I mean? It just, the bass didn't stick out. It was just like, it loses a lot of its dynamic, man, when you're playing with your fingers. It really does. And I was a rhythm guitar player before I played bass, so it's kind of easier. It was easy for me to transition.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, mate. When's the autobiography coming out? Surely you've been asked about this before.
When the what? What?
When are you writing your autobiography? When's it going to be released?
Oh yeah, the book question. That's right up there with the why don't I sing about other shit besides what I do? That's right up in there with one of those questions. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a pretty private person, and I don't know. I tell when I tell people, I would rather tell my stories in the backstage area and make people laugh at them. You know what I mean? Than to write it all down. I think it loses a lot in translation, man. So maybe a spoken book or something. I could do it.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, mate, it's stating the bloody obvious, but people would love to read your story, mate. It would be a heck of a tale.
I get every ghost writer out there, man. It was like this weekend, just at the Philly show and that.
Yeah.
Scott Burns was there, and we were all telling stories and that, and I could just see the ears of the ghost writers in the room. Their ears were just standing straight up, man.
Yep. Yeah,
so I know, man. People, like I say, they want to know. I've got, like I say, and I'm just not. I don't know, man. I've just never, like I say, if I could do the book tastefully and that, but be about me and not the whole. Like I say, I mean, from my perspective, that's where it would have to be.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, mate, I'm realize I'm out of time. I just want to ask you a couple more questions quickly, but I got the Roadrunner Years 9 LP box set, and
right.
sounds great. But my question for you was there ever talk of adding a coffee table style book? Like I just got the Wasp one today, and that's got a big booklet in it, but I noticed the Deicide one didn't have one in it.
The cassette box set does.
Oh shit! Really? There you go. Okay, I got the wrong one.
Yeah, the box set the cassette box set we released there, that has a great packaging.
Wonder why they didn't do it for the LPs as well. Anyway, it's one of those things.
Well, yeah, man, I like you say, man, it's hard to get in the minds of those people because they think in digits like the Matrix.
That they do, yeah. All right, here's my final question for you, Glenn. Thanks for your time. But last time you were down here, as I mentioned, was 2006. So when might we see you in Australia again?
Probably this year sometime, man. We're gonna try to set something up there and that because there's a lot of other countries on the way there and that we would like to hit. So this time around, I think, yeah. I mean, it's not the greatest of flights, but I enjoy being in Australia. I enjoy the food and the people and that, man. We have a good time down there. So I just would like to go back again because, like I say, the last time I was there, I didn't really get to enjoy it because I was sitting on phones with lawyers the whole goddamn time. So I'd like to be able to go enjoy myself this time. You guys got some really great seafood places. And, yeah, man, I really enjoy the beach and stuff there.
Killer. Well, and it goes without saying, mate, that you're welcome down here anytime. And it's been it's been fantastic to chat to you. I'll just let you know that one of the very first extreme metal album I ever bought was Legion, and it had a tremendous impact. And I'm sure you heard that story many times, but this is the irony, mate. I realise the subject matter might not be that positive, and a lot of people, Tipper Gore and beyond, might find it unpalatable. But the reality is, mate, it's had a very positive impact on many of our lives. So there you go.
Well, when we come back down there, we'll be sure to play the Legion album for you guys.
There you go. All right. Fantastic stuff. Thanks again, Glenn. It's been a fantastic chat.
Awesome, brother. Thank you, man.
Cheers, mate.
Awesome, brother. Thank you, my man.
All right. Well, there you have it. A conversation long awaited with the great Glen Benton from Deicide. I thoroughly enjoyed my time talking to Glenn. I just wish I had more of it, but that's usually the case. Now, if you enjoyed that chat with Glenn, there are many more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. Think about this. If you like listening to extreme metal, you probably like hearing from the members of the bands that create the music. Well, that's what my show's all about. Think members of Morbid Angel, Death, Obituary, My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost, Cradle of Filth, Nocturnus. They're all there. All right. So that's it from me. My name's Andrew Mackay Smith, and I'm the host of Scars and Guitars. Until the next one, it's a goodbye for now.